conversation has changed as far as the electoral process regarding the presidential election in the United States is concerned. And one of the factors they quickly point to is the fact that this time it's not Mr. Trump against Hillary Clinton, it is Mr. Trump against Joe Biden, former U.S. Vice President under former President Barack Obama. This year we are not likely going to hear, from what people are saying, about some Russian meddling, but it will appear the issues have taken a whole new turn altogether. We understand, for example, that the race has been very tight for both of them, especially in certain states, for example, where the trajectory has also changed very significantly. For example, a lot of persons are quick to turn to states like Florida and Ohio and, of course, Pennsylvania. But today is, for want of better words, the D-Day as far as this election is concerned. Both men appear to be very optimistic and confident that they will carry the day. So the question is, what are the elements we should be looking at as to how this is likely going to turn out? Of course, we can't forget quickly all of the issues that led up to where we are today, and of course, how that Trump has continually railed against the radical left. And then, of course, Biden has talked about how that Mr. Trump, as far as he's concerned, is a con man. How do these issues impact the electoral process regarding this presidential election, and how does it ultimately impact the American society? Okay, we want to have that conversation on the program today. I'm joined by two gentlemen who will help us make sense of this very important discussion. First, from my immediate left is Barrister Osahon Osazoa. Apparently is a legal practitioner and an international affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me. Always my pleasure being here.
And next to him is the ever-cerebral Reverend Reagan. Is also an analyst of international affairs such as the one we're having in front of us today. And of course, he's here to lend his voice to this very topical issue. Reverend, it's always a pleasure to have you with us on the program.
My pleasure too. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
I want to begin with Osahon. You know, at the point I thought you were going to cast your votes as far as this election is concerned, because you've always been passionate about American issues, particularly political and electoral, such as this one. We have seen all of the issues that led up to where we are today regarding this election. A lot of persons say, look, America will never remain the same again, whether for good or for bad, on account of all the developments associated with this round of election. What are your sentiments?
Yes, thank you very much. This is the big day. The D-Day has come. Mm-hmm. And according to all expectations, people are really coming out to vote.
Right.
Americans have taken this election as serious as anything. Unlike 2016, when so many people thought it was a done deal, that such a person has won, mm-hmm. and that they don't have to go out and waste their time voting. All that. But today, both sides realize that every vote counts, every vote matters, and they are fighting tooth and nail for every single American vote. It's a teutonic battle. The paradigm has to shift. It's a paradigm shifting election. It's an historical election that will decide the fate, the trajectory, and the direction of America for the next half of a century. So much is at stake, my brother. And like Biden said, it's a battle for the very soul of the American nation. Whether bigotry or whether openness, whether lies. Like they said, being a Christian, you make sure that Biden said Trump being a con man. Not necessarily from Biden. He came from his long-time lawyer, remember him, who worked for him for decades. Even his own sister said so, that the man is as manipulative and things whatever he said. That's that. But the issue today is that people are really voting. Voting not, like somebody said that he's not going to vote for the Pope. That despite all the flaws
of 2016,
Trump,
right?
All the flaws of Trump, that he's not looking for a Pope. He's not looking for a righteous man, so to speak. He's just looking for somebody who echoes, who is bold enough to articulate the thoughts of the average American person.
And they make America great again.
Yes. Trump is just bold enough
to
articulate audibly, to give voice to the sentiments that the average white person thinks and feels. And so he's their man, and they are really writing for their man.
As of midnight Nigerian time, about 100 million Americans had already cast the ballots. What does that say? What could have led to that? Is it because of the efforts made by the political parties and the candidates themselves, or is it just a kind of epiphany for Americans, I mean the voting public, feeling, well, this is 4 years after 2016, we can't have the same situation now as we had 4 years ago? Was that what it was?
Yes, it is both sides. If you realize what is happening, even though about 60% of the mail-in ballots, almost about 60% of the mail-in ballots have come from the Democrats, but the early voting too, the Republicans have been hard, just wanting to make a change. And there is a big factor now, the pandemic, the virus that is outside. So people think election day will be too crowded. They don't want to take chance. So that's why it was staggered. That's why some states that used to, like Texas, they used to vote for, and Florida, I used to vote for about 2 weeks prior to the election. They made it 3 weeks so that they can have enough time yes, to come and vote, so that the risk will be lessened, so that people don't come because you want to exercise your vote and go back with the virus, and so many other things. And then, of course, this election has been so tensed up, and so much is really on the line, either on the right or on the left. People just think, and just like the survey said, the average American say anybody that wins today, the other side will not be happy. They think the world will end. Some people think the Republicans think the world will end if Biden wins. So likewise, the Republican, the Democrat thinks if another 4 years of Trump, they cannot bear it. They will just die. So that is how strong the emotion is really flaring and growing. So that's why people really are coming out to vote. Imagine at this point about 98 million persons now have voted, and the whole election in 2016, both the early vote, the mail-in vote, and the big day vote, all of them was about 139 million, less than 139 million. So we now already have 100 million. That tells us so much. Today we will know better, but I think they are going to exceed the 160 million today.
Reverend Reagan, I want to talk to you about some of the dynamics that really created distinction between this election in the U.S. and the one they had in 2016. For example, we hear now that some kind of unscalable fences are being raised around the White House by way of protecting the White House, which many people believe is the most secure building on earth. How true that is probably something on which we want to have a symposium later. But for now, it raises the question of what will become of America on account of the outcome of this election, regardless of how it swings.
Well, the simple fact is that America is not just for America. America affects the globe.
Right.
And so whatever happens to America, it reverberates. And whoever occupies the White House symbolizes that institution and thought. And so we in 2016, the election was between what the people call statutory government interference with each day's man's life. And they felt they needed somebody who is not a member of the established structure.
Right.
They needed to rock the boat and make sure that these people are free to do whatever they like without government intervening at all of the times. And there are people who already feel that the fact that the state is interfering has made the minorities and the others are more safe than those who think that they are original owners of America, which is, like you say, is another story for another day, who owns America. But we're looking at today from various perspectives. One is the fact that people are asking questions. Who represents my interests more? When issues affecting my life occurs. You know, it's not like in Africa where you don't bother what's happening. Each American is thinking of how it affects him or her. And so you're looking at the minorities, there's no block now that is 100% to one side. Because people are getting much more divided and doing they do. So the issue is people want also to be heard. I don't want you to represent me, I want to represent myself. And one of the only ways you can is by the ballot. I want to be able to say this is what I'm looking at. And that has also affected. Two is the fact that people also have, especially the minorities and all, have seen the impact of the presidency upon their life. And they are believing that some of them are saying, do I need to have another 4 years of this? Others are saying, well, I think I need to. have 4 more years of these, especially from the white majority that is becoming minority. And that is the fear of the white Americans, that they're already becoming minorities in their own country. And if you give it to the other man, they will just be wiped out from the map history. So there are a lot of thoughts. And I'm believing that the Americans and the world need to be very circumspect of what the issues are, because there's no one man that can fix every situation. One side may have an upper hand at a point, the other side may have an upper hand. But I believe that people are taking it